Hi, I'm Bill Everett, treasurer of the Friends of St. Mark's Wildlife Refuge. As you know, the main mission of the Friends organization is to raise money to support St. Mark's Refuge programs, which are primarily conservation and education. I'm going to give you a high level overview of our revenue sources and program expenses. Just as a quick note, our fiscal year is from June the 1st through May the 31st. The Friends of St. Mark's Wildlife Refuge has two main revenue sources: sales from the nature store and donations. The nature store is, of course, the retail space inside the visitor center. Under the leadership of nature store manager Rita LeBlanc, for the last few years, the nature store has contributed more than $60,000 in profit to the refuge. Now, in March of 2020, we hit a wall like everybody else. The visitor center closed, so did the nature store. And Rita, being the energetic, creative person that she is, took a couple of months to scratch her head and figure something out, and she put up an online version of the nature store using software that we found, integrated with the website, and began to sell products all over the country. In the last fiscal year, that it brought in about $16,000 in profit. And she said, I think we can do better than that. And so this year, towards the end of the year, she said, why don't we bring the nature store outside, set it up in a parking lot, and do sales out there? As you can see from this chart, we're on track to do about $12,000 worth of business in the pop-up store, about $12,000 in the online store, which brings you to a total of about $24,000 to $25,000. That's about half of what we were doing before the visitor center closed. And our hats off to Rita for figuring that out and keeping the revenue coming in. Another main revenue source is donations, which are contributions made to the refuge by people like you, people who love and want to support this wonderful resource. An additional impact of the visitor center closure for the past 2 years has turned out to be that visitors to the refuge have not been able to make in-person donations to support the refuge through Friends, and we have always counted on these in-person donations. So, to make donations easier and more accessible, we spent some time this past year and implemented a new online donation system. Among other benefits, this new system has allowed us to introduce recurring monthly donations. And our recurring donors are now part of what we are calling the Longleaf Society. To illustrate the amazing level of support that we have received from you in this past fiscal year, here's what the numbers look like. The revenue picture for this fiscal year through March is shown in this chart. Notice the title says gross profit. That's because we've removed the cost of goods number from the nature store. In all other instances, revenue and gross profit are the same. We'll talk about Friends expenses in the context of what we spend money on and the benefit it brings to the refuge, because it's important for you to know how your donations are being used. The Friends support many conservation and education programs and respond to ongoing needs such as maintenance and repair of the lighthouse. Now, some refuge program expenses were greatly diminished or were suspended in the prior fiscal year as well as this year, 21-22. We'll talk about these in a minute. However, the essential conservation work of the St. Mark's intern program has continued through the past 2 years. Let's just take a look. As is true with most national wildlife refuges in the country, one thing that's always in short supply is labor, people to do the work. In 2014, with the generous support of a key sponsor and under the guidance of Supervisory Ranger Joe Reinman, the Friends developed an intern program to provide much-needed additional person power to protect endangered species and support other conservation programs. To date, nearly 60 interns have come through the program funded by the Friends. They come to St. Mark's through a screening process that brings in highly qualified young conservation-minded individuals. These people are the future of conservation, and they leave St. Mark's with additional valuable skills. So not only is real work being done, but we are building the next generation of conservation leaders. It takes about $10,000 to support one intern for 1 year. Really, it's an incredible bargain. Since 2014, They have provided over 30,000 person-hours of skilled conservation talent. Each intern stays for 3 to 4 months, and there are usually 2 or 3 active at any point in time. Let's take a look at what these interns have accomplished with just 2 of the threatened and endangered species. St. Mark's is one of 2 last known strongholds of the threatened frosted flatwood salamander and has 2/3 of the remaining individuals in the world. They began surveying the population in 2014 and in 2017 began trapping and rearing these salamanders in captivity. The survival rate since they started that has increased from 5% to 90%. And to date, 882 salamanders have been raised in tanks and released on the Refuge. RCWs are currently listed as endangered. They started banding them in 1981, and by 1984 were down to just 3 males over the entire Refuge. So they started out to rebuild the population by moving 4 pairs. And then they began using man-made cavity boxes and moving pairs from other sites. Right now there are 61 groups, and the goal is 71 active groups. Keep in mind that neither of these success stories would have been possible without the financial support to the intern program provided by you and our sponsors. There is much more to be done, and we will need your continued support. Some of the programs that we normally support, like environmental education and visitor services, have been essentially on hold for the past 2 years. We expect both of these to resume normal operations very soon as the Refuge begins to slowly reopen. As an aside, we also hope to announce a new, exciting initiative in environmental education later this calendar year. The monarch milkweed program is indefinitely suspended, and the hope is that when things relax, there will be enough Refuge personnel to restart the program. We have, of course, continued to respond to Refuge needs as they come up, such as maintenance and repair of the lighthouse. And we have been working with Refuge management this past year to reduce other expenses. An example would be replacing the printed matter on the trails and the kiosk, which have to be reprinted continually and generate an expense. We've replaced those with signs that have a QR code to take you to a web page providing much better online information about that particular site. The total expense picture for this fiscal year through March is shown in this chart. I would like to say that when COVID hit, we were very nervous that we would have the funds necessary to keep critical programs operational. Thanks to good financial practices by prior boards and continued support from you and our key sponsors, we've actually come through in pretty good shape. I also want to add that we have had several conversations with Refuge management who understand that we have the financial resources to do more for the Refuge. Refuge manager Terry Peacock knows this and has been a good collaborator on using these funds as things wake back up at St. Mark's. If you would like to look at more detail on our financials, there's a link on the webpage that contained this video. Thanks for watching.